Hello everyone, my name is Niall, welcome back to Changing Minds Through Gaming. This is going to be an episode with Mr. Webb Pickersgill, who's the wonderful co-director from Life is Strange Before the Storm, performance director from Life is Strange True Colours, I believe, and many other things. So it's wonderful to have you here, mate. Thank you so much for your time and for letting me on your Twitch channel as well. This is my first time on Twitch.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I think we worked out a great arrangement. It's a win-win for both of our communities. So yeah, happy to be here.
Right. I'm going to start off with some more general questions about mental health to kind of like break into it a bit.
Sure.
So to start off with, I was wondering what is mental health to you and how would you define it?
Oh, it's like a college test. I'm like, okay, hold on.
You got to pass the exam before you gain entry to the rest of the interview.
Do I get... Oh, gosh. Okay. So yeah, mental health. Usually when you hear the word mental health, I think a lot of people immediately think there's something wrong with you. I think there's a negative connotation just with that phrase, mental health, which is weird because when you say, just health, people think, oh, it's just how good you are. Usually it's connotated in the positive, whereas the word mental health is naturally connotated in a negative way. And that kind of sucks. Like that's like an immediate problem right there. So what is it to me? It's about maintaining a healthy way of balancing your thoughts in your life so that you can function in society and with your friends. It doesn't mean that you're happy all the time, because that's unnatural. And it doesn't mean you're sad all the time. It means that, we have waves and it's okay to ride those waves. Navigating those waves is part of the challenge, but it's about making sure that those waves, the balance between those waves is, we want it to be so that we have times in our lives that are positive. It's okay to dig deep and get into the trenches and stuff. And it's okay to be down in there, but we have to be able to come out of it in ways so that it balances out.
One of the things that really inspired me to start making this series was that feeling I had when I kind of came to this realization that I'd been suffering with mental health issues for most of my life. They kind of started when I was early teens, so about 13 or so. And since then, I've kind of had up and down periods, as I think is normal with most people. I kind of only properly realised when I was ending off university, because I didn't have the best time there. I didn't feel very kind of integrated to things. I wasn't enjoying my course very much. I studied biology, and I wasn't enjoying it at all. And it took me until my third year to kind of realised that the way I was living wasn't how I wanted to carry on living. Like, I didn't want to be this unhappy all the time, and it finally kind of got low enough and clicked in my head that something must be quite wrong for me to be feeling so down all the time. And that was kind of a turning point in my life where I kind of suddenly realised that I've got to ask for help for this. I've got to go and search for counselling and things like that. Yeah, the thing that inspired me to make this channel was kind of understanding finally that I'd gone so long without fully being able to kind of comprehend the mental health issues I was facing, and I don't think that's right for people to kind of have to deal with that. I think people should become more aware at a younger age of kind of the troubles with mental health and kind of just more awareness of it in general. And a lot of that, I guess, comes from education, but I think a lot of it as well comes from just small talk with people. So kind of just mentioning it little by little in the most random conversations wherever it's appropriate, and kind of bringing it up to people a bit more often. I think that's kind of one of the main ways we can kind of tackle this kind of... It's almost like everyone turns a blind eye to it almost.
So... yeah, the way I see it is it's like the elephant in the room. Okay, so if it's you and like 3 other people and you're at a party, right? Or anywhere, you have a group of people and you're just hanging out and you're talking. Usually that conversation is on the up, right? So you're talking, oh, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I got this fun story. Oh my gosh, it's, if somebody were to come into a conversation like that and say, hey guys, I had to quit my Ironman race and I'm really feeling down right now. There's like a social norm that's not cool to do. You don't go into a room and drop a bomb and then, all of a sudden everybody just gets uncomfortable and it's just like, oh, I thought we were talking about fun stuff. I wanted to have fun. So, I mean, so like that's kind of like the elephant in the room, right? Because when you have, when you're suffering with depression or you have something that's heavy on your heart and socially, we can't express that, right? It's not cool to express that in a social situation. So you put on the happy face and you're like, hey guys, how's it going? And you basically pretend and you push through, which doesn't help the situation, right? It teaches us to put on masks and to be fake, which is also not healthy, right? So we're almost, not causing the problem, but we're reinvesting in the problem by painting over it with, lipstick or whatever the analogy is. But there are definitely ways that we could be better as social creatures in dealing with this, right? Not ignoring it, because a lot of that happens, not painting over it with lipstick or ignoring things and trying to pretend everything is okay, or ignoring the person who's being a downer and try to up it, but graciously acknowledging when somebody isn't feeling great. Talk to them. Are you okay? Do you need anything? What can I do for you? Being there with them for a second and supporting them. And then, casually saying, hey, we wanted to get back to the conversation we were doing earlier without being an asshole about it. And having that be okay for everybody. Or if he's like, actually, you know what? I don't want to talk about that. Can we talk a little bit more about me? Okay, at least then it's a negotiation, right? It's not just like, I'm just not pulling you down because I'm here and I'm going to pull you down. It's like, hey, I'd like to keep talking about this. And also having the conversation, people have the permission to say, actually, I don't want to talk about this right now. Is that okay? But you know what? I would, you want to get together tomorrow for coffee? I want to talk to you more about it or whatever. Like, it's okay to negotiate those things and not just ignore them and try to pretend they're not there, or dismiss the person because you're uncomfortable. Like, let's open that conversation. So
do you reckon it's about communication skills more than anything then? Do you reckon as well that's something that can maybe be taught more?
I guess so. As I'm kind of talking through it, you're right. It is a communication thing. And it's not just communication, but it's a confidence in the communication, right? Because when you're not feeling great and, your communication skills are just going to be shit anyway, because you're just not feeling great. So you're not thinking about things. So it's, but when you're in the other three people in that group, in the theoretical group here, is you need to be confident in what you're saying and not like uncomfortable with the feelings that I'm feeling. Oh God, this person's making me feel bad. And what do I say? And it's okay. Like, you need to be confident saying, are you okay? I don't know. I'm thinking through this. This is like the first time I've really kind of thought through this. I did not do any homework on this topic, by the way. I just wanted to kind of be fresh and just come in and kind of think off the cuff and think with you, right? So I don't know where all this is coming from.
I think it's kind of like difficult as well, isn't it? Because different people react differently to mental health issues, and the way they want to be treated is going to be different as well. So it can be
that is true.
A very personal kind of thing. So I think, as you were saying, communication is going to be quite an important kind of asset to have, because you need to be able to find out whether a certain individual's like going to respond well to what you're doing. I was having a conversation with someone a few months back about mental health first aid training. Don't know if you've heard of that, but it's kind of like a general set of rules that can be taught to people to kind of apply to different mental health issues that people are facing. Not quite set in stone, but kind of like a guide of different things to go through. And yeah, it's almost like no matter what, this is going to help this person in some way, and trying to do it in the best way possible. So I think that kind of thing being taught, I think it started to be taught in more workplaces, people who are kind of at a more management side of companies and things, but that kind of thing kind of being integrated even more to to say schools and things like that would really, really help kind of put through that message. And I think as well, like, it's about kind of normalizing the behavior of having that kind of conversation with someone about their mental health and asking them what's the best way for me to help you, you know?
Right. And I've never heard of it that way, but what is it? Mental health first aid. It's when you say it and you just take a second to think about it, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah, we're not doctors. Like, you cut yourself. Yeah, you're not a doctor, but you can at least patch it and kind of, tame it for a second, long enough to get proper treatment. So yeah, that form of training, I think, would be great. Like, if companies could offer that, as part of, because yeah, I mean, they offer CPR training, right? And they offer like basic physical health first aid, but why not mental health? Because we more than likely are going to suffer a mental health issue at work than we would a physical issue, depending on, of course, where you work. I had the best boss for a long time, Zak Garriss, who was the game director of Life is Strange True Colors before he left Deck 9. And he was so empathetic. And he'd always come to my office. We'd have one-on-ones. He'd check in with me every 2 or 3 weeks. And I always laughed when we would talk, because I told him, I'm like, I feel like I should be paying you. You feel like my therapist, because like we would get together and yeah, we would talk about work things, but mostly he was checking in. How are you doing? How is the work going? How are you dealing with these pressures? How are you doing what you want to be doing? Do you want to be doing something different? Like, he was very in tune to me emotionally, and that made all the difference. I would always come out of those meetings just feeling empowered, feeling rejuvenated.
Yeah, and it can make such a huge difference to people, can't it? Just having that space to be able to kind of be open. And I think sometimes there's a bit of a fine line, and it's maybe a difficult line to tread, knowing which way to go, knowing whether people want to be pushed about something or whether they'd rather be kind of left to their own devices. But as soon as you have that conversation with someone, you can find it out quite quickly. And yeah, that's why communication is so important, I guess.
It is. You're right. It's communication, because it's a negotiated thing, right? Because not everybody is as open as anybody else. So you could equally have a conversation with another teammate where you're like, hey, I see you're going through some tough trouble. Anything you want to talk about? And they could say, honestly, no, I don't want to talk about it. And then, cool, I totally understand. And just reinforcing the idea that, look, I'm here. If you ever need anything, I can be a confidant. I can be an ear. I don't have to try to solve anything. I could literally just listen if you want somebody to talk to. Just making sure that offer is out there, right, can sometimes be enough. Just knowing that, okay, I have a safety net.
I gotta say as well that I love Zak Garriss. I love that man. I've seen some. Was it a playthrough he did of Before the Storm with Eurogamer?
Oh yeah,
yeah, really, really cool.
His voice, right?
I know.
I mean, like
his voice.
His voice is like down in here, and he's like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" It's like,
sorry,
millions of women swoon everywhere every time he speaks. It's awesome.
I was curious, in one of your VODs, you mentioned that there was a difference between working on Before the Storm and working on True Colors in regards to kind of, I don't know if it was your mental health or kind of work ethic. Could you kind of touch upon that a bit?
It's really interesting, and this is a deep story, and it could go on long-winded, so I'll try to keep it short so you can actually ask questions as we go. So when I made Before the Storm, we had just come back from a possible near collapse of the studio. So we were working on a game, and in the middle of working on this other game, the first game that I was hired for, the publisher that we were working with literally went bankrupt overnight. We were recording in the recording studio. We woke up one morning to go to the studio, and on the way to the studio, we got a phone call saying, "Don't come in. The doors are closed. We're bankrupt. Go home." It was nuts, right? So almost overnight, the entire studio was at risk. And we pulled all the resources we had as a studio. We really slimmed down. I was one of the few people that was able to stay on. This is a lot of setup, I know, but it helped paint the bigger picture. So stay with me here. So we slimmed down. I was one of like 11 people that was on with the studio for like a year, and we struggled to create a demo that would help get us our next game. And that demo we shopped to Square Enix, and Square Enix saw it and saw the potential that we could help them develop the next Life is Strange, the Before the Storm. Um, we did tests with them, and they really put us through the ringer to make sure that we could do it. And when we succeeded those tests, they gave us the project. So now we've basically come back from the ashes. We have Life is Strange Before the Storm. I'm working on this, and I am just beside myself. I was a fan before I even worked on the franchise. Like the day it came out, I bought the game. I was a fan, loved it. So getting to work on it was like crazy awesome for me. So here I am working on, I'm working in the game industry. I've been in film for years. I'm now working in games. I'm working on a franchise that I played and love. And it's, anyway, it's just like a dream come true. So I was all in. So my work ethic, now coming to the actual question, was just work all the time. My work-life balance, in order to have a balance, you need to have two things that go between. There was no work-life balance because it was just my life. And it's just my hobbies were my career. My career was what I like to do. So it was all just one giant mush. So yeah, I was working sometimes 12, 14. I think my longest stretch was 20 hour, did a 20-hour day once. But I know I don't say that for like sympathy or like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you. It was just like, I loved doing what I was doing. Like I just couldn't stop working. I'm like, oh, I think I'll work on this for a little while. And then I'm like, oh, I'm getting bored of that. Oh, let me go work on this for a little. And it was invigorating. It was exciting. I couldn't do enough of it. And it was super fun. Not sustainable. You can't do that for year over year. Now we get into True Colors. And I have to leave some of the details out because it is a very private thing. But the one thing that I can talk about was the expectation of who I was on Before the Storm compared to the expectation of the position I was going to play in True Colors were going to be very different. The company was growing. They needed to, instead of having one person that does a lot of things, they needed multiple people that each did one specialty thing. I'm an all-in-one guy. I love to direct, produce, edit. Like I like to do it all. So I was now being asked, instead of being a game director, I was being asked to do a smaller piece of a pie. And that hurt my ego. It hurt what I wanted to do. And it was hard for me to deal with that. That fucked me up for a long time. Being able to say, what do you mean I'm not going to be like the game director on the next one? What's going on? And in retrospect, it's fine. And in retrospect, I'm very happy. I love what I do and I love where I'm doing it. But in the moment, it fucking sucked because you're telling me, okay, I'm not going to be a game director on the next one. I'm going to be a performance director, not even a cinematic director, a performance director, because they were really separating out all the roles. So what I did was I hopped on my bike and I'm like, you know what? I didn't feel like I could control anything. I felt like things were out of control and there's nothing I could do about my career or my path forward. I felt completely helpless. There's nothing I could control. And I'm like, you know what? I want to fucking drive myself into the ground. Like I want to bike until I pass out. I want to do something that's just fucking crazy. I'm going to bike to downtown Denver, and downtown Denver for me is, it's about 30 miles away. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to fucking, if I pass out halfway, fine, great. Then, maybe, an ambulance will scrape me off the ground. Maybe I'll go to the hospital. I don't know. I don't fucking care. Like I was just in this really bad space. I basically wanted to hurt myself, like through exercise, something, I don't know. But what happened was, I fucking did it. I didn't expect to, but like I enjoyed the ride. I was biking. I was biking and it was hurting and I was like kind of out of breath and everything. But I was actually enjoying the scenery. Like I'd never been that far on the bike path before. I was seeing new things and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I'm like, oh, what's this over here? Oh, which way do I turn? And I kind of got lost in the moment of, in this effort to try to hurt myself. I got lost in the moment and I started enjoying myself. And then before I knew it, I was in downtown and I was like, wait, am I here? What? And then I biked up and down. It's called the Cherry Creek Trail, which is there's like a Cherry Creek which runs up through Denver up to the Cherry Creek Reservoir, and it's a beautiful path. And I got there and I biked up and down for 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm like, I made it. And my plan, let's say, backfired on me. It's not like I wanted to succeed in hurting myself, but I was surprised to find that it gave me a high. I was like, oh my God, like I did this. I didn't expect to do this. And I did this and I didn't die. And it was actually kind of fun. Of course, going back to work on Monday, having to deal with the situation, I was still in a really shitty place. So the next weekend, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna bike 50 miles next weekend. Like I was unsuccessful in my ability to, make myself die. So I'm gonna bike 50 miles. Yeah, fucking take that. So I planned out a trip that would take me up to Fort Collins, which is 50 miles away. It's like an hour car ride, and it hurt like a bitch. My back was killing me. Like it was a whole new level of pain for me, but I made it, and I got there, and I'm like, holy shit, I made it. And my wife met me up there, and we had lunch, and I was like, oh shit. And this went on for the next 6 weeks. Every weekend, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go further. Or I'm going to go whatever. One weekend, I'm like, you know what? Instead of going further, I'm going to go higher. I decided to bike up into Idaho Springs, which is like, it's like a 3,000 foot gain over the course of like a couple miles. It's it's crazy. So every week I gave myself a new challenge, and I was in between. I was hating my life, but I was exercising. I was getting all of this negative energy out through exercising. And it actually turned into be like one of the healthiest things I've ever done. Back in 2019, I used to weigh like 250 pounds. I was very obesely overweight. And over the course of that year, I lost 75 pounds. I got down to 170, which for me is like insane. I've been like 250 my whole life. So I worked through it. And I kind of, it's funny, I used the negative thing in my life to create positive change. Like I use it as energy. Like I bottled it up and I threw it on a bike and I turned it into something positive. So, and that was all during True Colors production, right? So I was working myself to death during dawn or during before the storm, but that was self-rewarding. But now during True Colors, I was working my butt off to work off that negative energy, and work was great. I mean, I was still a little upset with my circumstance, but I loved what I did. I loved the performances that we were getting. I loved what I was contributing to the game. I loved my new role. I really grew into it. And eventually I kind of worked out of those negative things. So I know this is like a half an hour answer to your like 10-word question here. But I just wanted to paint the larger picture of kind of like how I transformed between those three things, right? Like coming back from nothing, being so excited that I worked my butt off, and then being so, that contrast of being so negative about, wait, I did all that work and now I'm basically feel like I'm being demoted. I feel like I'm being left behind or thrown aside. It was like a backslap, but taking that negative energy and somehow it turned me around. And I don't know how or why. It's not like I tried to make it turn me around. It just happened.
It's such a cool story. It's amazing that you found kind of a passion for that from your lowest point, really, isn't it? Because it's funny how things can work like that sometimes. At what point did you kind of realize that it was a healthy thing that you were doing?
I mean, pretty much right away.
Yeah.
Like I did the 30 miles. I'm like, oh my God, like my body has never done that before. And it almost became, instead of like hurting myself, it more became a game of, wait a minute, where's my limit? Like, it was almost like, okay, hold on. I just biked 75 miles and I still got energy in the tank. Okay, next weekend I'm doing 100. Like, where's my limit? Like, am I ever going to stop? And, eventually I kind of found the outer limits of my physical abilities, but it was fun to figure that out. And all along the way, I'm like, yeah, like who else goes out on a weekend for 5 hours on a bike and just just or 5 to 8. And when I'm doing like 100 miles, I'm out for like 8.5 hours. I'll get up first thing in the morning. I'm not back until dinner. But like, yeah, I know that I was getting healthy, and it felt good. It felt good to get healthy for the first time in my life. Like I could like see my toes, and like, I went down a couple sizes on my belt, and like I used to have all like double or triple XL shirts. I'm in like mediums and larges now. Like, it's an amazing experience. It's like to turn all that around. So, by the way, yeah, you like my shirt?
I do. I love it.
And I already mentioned this to everybody in chat earlier, but basically these are the shirts. At Deck 9, we get shirts usually every year to kind of commemorate the projects we're working on. This year, this is hold on, I'm going to turn around and show you the back. As you can see, Life is Strange 2 colors. I think you can see that.
So cool.
And then on this one, yeah. But no, see, it's the dev team special edition.
No.
So
I'm sure
anyway,
you saw a lot if you made them for public release, just saying.
Oh, I know, right? They sell like hotcakes. But this is the character Alex. Alex is our protagonist in Life is Strange True Colors, and her special ability is she's empathetic with a supernatural ability. So she's able to really feel how other people are feeling, and it affects her like in a supernatural way. So this is kind of like her, like, how are you feeling anyway? So
I'm so excited to play the game. I've been looking forward to it since it was announced. I was kind of hoping the release date would be a bit closer to when the trailer came out.
You and me both, man. Like my work on this project has been completed for over a year now. That's how long it takes from the completion of like dramatic content to, they have to edit it, they have to light it, they have to write a bunch of gameplay and code, and then QA it, and then get it qualified and get it in a box. Like the process after you're done working on it just baffles me. Like there are people working every day still, like 8 hours a day, to make sure that this game is going to release on time and release well. So yeah, I wish it was out yesterday as well. So you and me both.
It's actually really interesting as well, because I was having a conversation with a friend before the game was announced and all the details to do with it. And they asked me the question, if you had a superpower that was kind of realistic, what would you say is your own superpower? And the answer I gave was empathy. So I'm very interested to see how the character of Alex plays out in the story, because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of things that I can relate to. What would you say your superpower is?
Damn it, I knew you were going to say that. Shit. Okay, hold on. Obviously I make games, I make films. So like, I like making things, not that that's a superpower. But along the way, I like to help people. So a lot of times, like when I worked in IT many years ago, I would write programs because I knew that those programs would help people do their jobs. So I got to kind of scratch both itches. It was like, I get to make something that helped somebody, right? It was kind of a 2-for-1. Same thing here with this game. Like I get to make something. These games are very therapeutic for many people who play them. Like they find a resonance with the characters that like, I've heard fans talk about how it changes their lives, and about how these characters, they understand me, and oh my God. So like, again, I get to do that. I get to make something that helps people. And I don't know how else that could be expanded, but that's kind of what I like. That's not a superpower, but I don't know. That's the best answer I got.
I'm going to go in the quick story time for a second, because
oh yeah, sure.
When I was in uni finishing, it was I'd say about Christmas 2018 was my lowest point. Feeling quite depressed because I'd been on my course for quite a while. I wasn't enjoying things. I kind of knew it from the start, but not properly kind of accepted it, and didn't really have a backup plan. So I was kind of very, very worried about what I was going to do afterwards, and I was very lonely and not really kind of sure which direction I was going to take. And like you were mentioning before, I was kind of feeling very, like everything was very out of my control. So there were a few things that kind of brought me out of that space. Partially was kind of just an acceptance that at a certain point, like I was thinking these negative thoughts, and just kind of like, no, I don't want to be like thinking about these anymore. This has got to be something wrong. But there were a few things that kind of helped me kind of turn a corner. One of those things is a music band called 21 Pilots, and they have a lot of kind of lyrics that are related to mental health and kind of empowering yourself to kind of bring yourself through struggles and things. One of them was discovering the film centre that I go to. I did that in the summer of 2018. The other big thing that really helped me was seeing Life is Strange Before the Storm. I remember watching the original Life is Strange game on YouTube when it came out, I think, and I didn't really get it at the time too much. Like, I didn't pay a huge amount of attention to the story, and it just didn't quite, maybe it wasn't quite the right time for me to kind of take in all the messages that it's sending out. But Before the Storm was like perfect timing for me. And I remember I subbed to the YouTuber Jacksepticeye, and the day after I subbed to him, he posted a live stream of the farewell episode, and I was just kind of like, oh, I remember that game, it's pretty cool, I'm gonna go and see what's the latest happening in that series. And I remember just instantly like falling in love with the game and just kind of starting to pick up on more of these kind of like subtle character things that are going on, which I hadn't really experienced before. And I went back, watched the whole playthrough of the game, and to be honest, I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have played it first, but that's the way it happened. I'm kind of sad I didn't have, because I missed out. But I went and bought the game afterwards and probably like sat down, played through it, really got into it. And as you were saying, other people have experienced, I really can't put into words how life-changing it was for me to kind of be able to... It really just helped me to look at the world in a different way, because the world of Life is Strange is one that's, you know, I think at its core, it's very kind of, it's always trying to tackle key issues and talk about where the power lies and things, but also like there's an element of mystery to it. There's an element of kind of things happen for a reason, and you're not quite sure where powers come from and things like that, and you know, things spring up unexpectedly. And it's such a good attitude to take into life itself, to kind of look at things through that kind of view, and also relating to all the different characters and understanding that they're going through similar things that you're going through. And you know, the stuff that Chloe's going through, I think it's fair to say she's quite lonely before the storm, and she's quite depressed, and it's exactly how I felt. And it gave me so much power seeing a character deal with that in such a way that I don't think she realised herself, like, how powerful she was with kind of, like, taking hold of this thing that she's struggling with, and kind of, you know, her attitude is very, like, throw it back in its face and kind of, like, not really care how she's feeling. It's so powerful to see someone kind of be so confident, and I really took that on board and kind of thought, well, maybe I don't want to be like completely throwing myself at this, but it's so nice to see a completely different way of dealing with things, because I was very much like very reserved and very like, the stuff that's happening to me, kind of trying to ignore it as much as possible. Meanwhile, Chloe's like confronting it at every opportunity, and her sense of humour is on point as well, which always helps.
And she also did it. She did it in a non-self-deprecating way too, right? She was able to like shed any kind of negativity and not like, oh, so, you know, because a lot of self-deprecating humor, it's really easy to do when you're in a bad place. And yeah, at least her character found a way of not doing that, which is a good role model, right? Getting it out, and not you know, hurting yourself with words or whatever.
Because I think that's something I've struggled with as well, kind of being quite hard on myself about certain situations and just kind of having quite a negative self-esteem a lot of the time. So it's refreshing in a way, kind of having a character like that who can just kind of give you a different perspective on things. And yeah, I mean, the game itself, just kind of getting into all the different characters and all of them, kind of, you get to know them really well and kind of get to know what kind of issues they might be facing, and it helps kind of people realise that, you know, the kind of mental health issues sometimes are a lot more universal than you might think. And I think one of the key messages from the first game especially was kind of seeing that there's always a different perspective to look at things. You can look at someone and judge them for what they're doing, but you can never really fully understand that person because they're going to be different around different people, and they're going to show different sides of themselves, and it's not always straightforward what you see on the surface compared to what's underneath. And those kind of messages were really, really reinforced into my life for the first time. So it just kind of made such a big difference. It kind of gave me hope again. Which is a really, really big thing, and kind of I've clung on to that ever since and grown from there, and it's wonderful.
Thank you for telling me that. That's really nice. It doesn't get old when I hear people say that they've played our game and it has affected them in such a positive way. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for the work you've done as well. How important would you say it is for I guess future projects, whether it be kind of films and games, to include like topics of mental health? Would you say it's kind of something you'd kind of heavily lean on stuff you're working on? Is it like a very important thing to you, or is it kind of, I guess, really secondary to whatever kind of project it is?
That's a good question. So at the higher level, obviously I can't comment on any kind of future project we're working on in that capacity. But one thing what I can comment on is that as a creative person, not associated with any company, working on the Life is Strange franchise has taught me that this is where it's at. Yes, there are other games that are about action and drama and, like Call of Duty and, like all these like crazy wild stories. But like, as far as the filmmaker in me is like, yeah, this is where it is. It's talking about the things that really matter to people, like everyday people. Yes, when we play games for different reasons, right? Sometimes we play games to escape the things we're going through in life, right? That's why we play Call of Duty or whatever. You just, I just want to kill somebody, or you play Diablo. I just want to kill some demons, and I play many hours of Diablo myself just to kind of to feel like you're accomplishing something, right? You're not thinking about your problems of the day. You're not thinking about, you just want to kill some demons. But when somebody is interested in content and they're open to like, all right, let's watch a movie or let's play something that's got some meaning to it. Yeah. Like stuff that people can relate to, and people can relate to mental health. They can relate to LGBTQ. They can relate to, you can pick anything. You really pick anything. And as long as you handle it with care and with dignity, and not just like, but here's a topic and throw it off to the side. As long as you take time to craft something artistically around a topic and care to execute on it well, people will really resonate with that. So not specific to mental health, but I do appreciate the bigger topic of things that are uncomfortable that we all deal with every day, but none of us maybe necessarily talk about. Yeah, those are the things that have some teeth that are really nice to dig into from a story perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of a window for people as well, really, isn't it? It's kind of a window and a way to kind of let people relate to the topics when maybe that kind of conversation won't so easily come up in everyday life, and maybe kind of encourage that confidence to kind of begin that kind of conversation with people, which I think is really kind of a great thing.
One thing I could maybe add there is that I think what makes Life is Strange more an agent of change, because it is a game. We've talked about this a little bit earlier, but a film can talk about these things, but it's a passive form of entertainment. The story is told to you, and films can be very changing, right? Films can have changed me. I've watched films and gone, oh shit, and gone and changed my life. But it's harder to do like a passive form of change, just sitting there and being affected by it. Whereas with a game, you're forced to take agency in the story, and you're forced to do things. And in doing that, you become part of that story and part of those problems and part of those solutions. And it definitely makes it resonate more with you than just the passive form of entertainment. So I think that gaming, I think you're onto something here with your show, which is, gaming as an agent of change, as an agent of helping us deal with these things is definitely a thing. We're more susceptible to it as letting it help us than passive entertainment.
it's an extra element of interactivity almost, isn't it? You get that extra bit of kind of putting yourself in the person's shoes if you're playing a character, and just kind of appreciating more what life is like for them and what life is like for the characters around them, which I think is, it's really, really important. I think gaming is going to take off even more so than it already has in the future over the next few years, because it's
I hope so.
more and more people get into it, so it's exciting.
Yeah, I think it's exciting because I think we've only started to tap the surface of interactive narrative adventure games, right? I mean, we've done pretty well, like having good choices and good consequences and making that really compelling, but there's still more to be discovered there. There's still like an open frontier of discovery. I keep coming back to the thing we talked about earlier, which is this idea of the mental health first aid. I think it's a great, because you come out of these conversations and it's great. It's very cathartic to talk about these things, for the last couple hours and everything. But eventually action needs to be taken, right? And we each kind of take small actions to help improve ourselves and how we deal with mental health. But an action that I can do, coming out of this would be to, approach my company and say, hey, is this something that we can offer within the company? Is there a person or a service that offers this that can give us skills to help identify and triage people that we notice within the company that are suffering things? And again, that's a step we can take. So maybe if there's anything I'm taking out of this as actionable, it's that, which I'm thankful for. It's something I can actually do. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'd be so happy if that got implemented as a result of this conversation. That would make me so proud, because it's like real life action, isn't it? That's what it's all about, just kind of doing things that very first hand help people. Yeah,
you got an outro to do? Cool. Sure, go for it.
Well, I don't, but I might as well make one up as I go along. Give it a bit more coherence. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, Webb. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to chat to you. And
this has been great, so thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it is such an important conversation to have, and it really, really kind of helps me as well, getting to talk to people who I kind of look up to so much in their field, and it's been wonderful. So thank you so much for your time.
Great, thanks.
And we'll see you soon on Changing Minds for Gaming. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you everyone in the Twitch chat as well for sticking with us.
All right, and there's our out. Sweet. Cool. You now have content for your episode. Woo!
Yeah.
Awesome.